here we are at the Yellowknifer office. We're sitting here with, on my left, we got Dane Mason and Paige Saunders of IserveU. Hey guys, tell us, we're seeing your signs popping up everywhere around town. I don't think a lot of people know about, who you guys are, and we're not clearly sure who's directing all the activities. According to your website, your group started off as a few Yellowknifers in 2012. Can you give us a better sense of who you are and who is sort of leading the conversation with your group?
So, IserveU, being a group dedicated towards a more accessible and direct democracy, we operate more in the sense of a direct democracy, where everyone has a role. Although it started out as just a few Northerners wanting to put together a Northern solution to an accessible, accountable, and transparent municipal governance, it's really grown since then. We have many volunteers, so there's not, I wouldn't say, a special leadership of sorts. There's definitely a core group of volunteers, but everyone has a specialty.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, when you go to your Twitter account, for example, and you see IserveU, who is answering those questions? Who's sort of leading your policy? Who's filling up the space on your website? Like, do you have a board of directors? Are you a registered society? Like, who's running the show?
We are a registered society.
Okay.
Who's posting could be anyone. We have a social media team.
Okay.
So anyone on there. We also have a communications team that works closely with them they have a consensus on any kind of response. So those are posted by that team. As far as policy, it's been a core group of volunteers, so probably about 6 of us that come to an agreement.
What are you? Are you like the president?
No, I do communications mostly.
You do communications.
I call myself a communications advisor.
Who's are you the president?
We don't actually have a president. Our board was formed this year, so we decided to actually go for the direct democracy thing through and through. When we make decisions, we are all equals.
Okay, how many people are on your board?
I think on foundation it was like 5, but those people are just they just filled the form.
Okay.
As far as the day-to-day goes, we've got these subgroups of people. So Dane, for example, he's in the communications group, and these people talk about communications thing. I write code with the other people who volunteer overtime programming, and we all kind of reach agreements, reach mutual understandings on how to go forward.
Okay.
We have people doing door-to-door. We have people doing. We've probably a good 30+ core members right now.
Okay, and so you're a registered society then. Like you've taken out a notice that you're a registered group. You're going to be putting out financial statements, that kind of thing.
As of January 2015.
Okay, how many employees do you have?
We have one full-time volunteer coordinator,
Okay.
but everyone else is volunteering or interning.
Okay.
They're doing it. They're being paid far less than they should be, and putting in tons of free time because they really believe in it.
Is there anyone from down south that was brought into the organization?
Yeah, a few people. Well, a few people moved to Yellowknife and talked to us when they first came to town. But really, I'd say the organization's basically mostly Yellowknifers.
Yeah, it's entirely centered in Yellowknife, and the vast majority are Yellowknifers.
Okay.
And we take a lot of pride in the fact that the organization, the idea, the coding, everything has been done in Yellowknife.
Okay. You say that you're funded for 10 years of operation. Where does the funding come from?
It's donations from Yellowknifers. Actually, the project's open source, so as far as ongoing costs go, it's all volunteer contributed time to that, and server costs are actually really low. The main cost is this upfront kind of period where we're educating the public and going out to schools and telling everyone.
You're going to schools too.
Yeah, we really believe like we've done everything. We've done the Avon Centre. We're doing schools. We're trying to make sure that everyone in Yellowknife knows what e-democracy is, so that people are really informed when they're making decisions.
Okay. How much money have you raised so far to date?
I'd have to find out from our bookkeeper.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what that is.
We have a previous story about you guys. You sold your house to fund this group. Like, maybe explain. Was that for the good of democracy, or are you hoping to get some kind of return in your investment for this?
Oh no, definitely not hoping to get some return. Yeah, I mean, I have started a few businesses around town, and I was selling my house, but it wasn't to fund the society.
It wasn't to fund a society?
No, no. I actually have bought another house and then moved into it. So that was actually, most of the initial funding came from me selling shares in a company which I had started a few years ago. And that company went pretty well, and I wanted to give back to the town that helped me make that company a success.
Like, are you hoping to trademark IserveU? Like, if you're successful, in the sense that you could use this to, you know, if some other community wants to start up, like you can, hey guys, we're already professional here. We can do this.
Our greatest idea of success would be that it's readily available and free for other communities to be able to make their community better. We want to prove that it's able to work here. We've developed it based around here. We call it the Yellowknife method that we've come up with. It's tailored to Yellowknife, but at the end of this, our biggest success would be if we can see this sprout up in other communities and have more residents have a better way to engage with their government.
Okay, let's talk about how the voting works from the public. How are the votes going to be displayed on your website?
So if you logged in, you'd have any of the issues that are going to be before council that would be receiving the vote would be listed on the website, and any of these you can pick if you're passionate about one. So you can click on that. It'll have a briefing to say this is the issue and here are the major points behind this. At the very bottom of the page, it would also have a discussion feature that would work kind of like an Amazon review or like comments on Facebook, if you've seen there, where people can like certain comments. So if you vote for or against something, you can explain why you voted for or against, and other people that vote on but might not have the time to make their own comment can say, I agree with this one. And the ones that received the highest vote would go to the top. So you'd have a good view of the most supported pro and con arguments for any issue, regardless of the proportion. And you'd also have the ability to vote yes, no, or even to abstain if you'd like to.
Council are entertaining sometimes dozens of votes a week, or dozens of issues a week. They're doing first and second, third readings on bylaws. They're voting on memorandums. Like, how are you picking those items and putting them on your website?
Everything will go on. We highly anticipate that 98% of the issues before council, like let's say for instance a common one might be to amend a bylaw because they want to change a lot downtown from residential to commercial. And that's not something that really affects me or most other people. Maybe a couple neighbors might have an interest. So for the vast majority of issues, we're not expecting to see Yellowknifers come up by the droves to vote, and that's why the system falls back as a default to representative democracy. In any case where the 50, even 500 people might come out to vote, that it works as a suggestion box where people can have their voice heard, have it on the public record, have a discussion, and talk about the pros and cons. But at the end of all that, the councillors, the IserveU councillors, will take that, they'll read it, and they'll make up their own mind based on their briefing, their understanding, their expertise, as well as the opinions they've gathered. It's only in the few issues where you have a major Yellowknife issue, whether that's something like, this isn't before council now, but the head frame in the past.
I get that from reading your website, but I do want to know, like, I guess the things that I don't know from reading your website are things like, so you're going through the agendas, you're taking those agenda items, putting them directly onto the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
So conveniently, the Yellowknife administration, city administration, a lot of councillors coming in are first-time politicians, and for a lot of them it is their first time dealing with some of these issues. So the administration actually already writes up recommendations and very detailed motions in layman terms for city councillors. It makes it a really, really great place to try out using this, because the administration's effectively done a really good job of doing 99% of the work to present this information to the public in these PDFs that they release before the meetings that they have.
It's still not clear to me how the votes will look. Are voters going to be identified, like people register with you guys, and then you identify who is voting?
You can, if you like, have a public profile, but you can also just anonymously vote like you do in a regular election. So just like a regular election, you can put your vote in the box and go, hey, I voted for this party, I'm proud of that. Or you can anonymously put it in there and keep that off the public record.
So people can create avatars for themselves, come up with a name, like a profile for themselves?
No, not so much in that sense. It's like we have to register each one to make sure they're on the elections list, and they have to be like a Yellowknifer, so we'll be using real names. But as far as the votes themselves would be anonymous. So if you or I wanted to vote, it wouldn't be a public record issue of which way we voted. However, if you or I wanted to go on and say that we had a strong opinion about this and make it on the public record, then that would use our real names. And that's to try to encourage accountability.
Right, so if someone's commenting on the issue, they'd be using their real names?
Right. If they want to comment and if they want to have a public name presented. So for example, you might think, I'm a person who a lot of people respect the judgment of, and I want people to know that I'm coming down on this side of an issue. So people, when they're reading through the comments, can go, oh, there he is. I usually think that he's got a really good perspective on a lot of these issues. I think I should take this side quite seriously. So it's an option that people can use if they would like.
But some of the comments would be anonymous?
You can make the comments. You can also be anonymous online in your comments. That's something you can do too. However, because of the way the system works with the upvoting and downvoting, if you go on there and say really mean things or you troll people, as it's called, your comment just isn't going to be seen. It's going to drop off because the people that are voting on whether your comment is seen or not are your fellow people that agreed with you. And they don't want to see you saying something argumentative or horrible. It doesn't look good for your team.
I mean, you're doing this for the sake of accountability. You're trying to bring more accountability to the decisions being made by council. But I guess I have a question about your accountability. How is what you're going to be doing accountable to the voters? Because some of these people, as you're saying, are going to be anonymous. I mean, what's to stop you from putting any kind of number out there as far as the number of votes go? Because, in a real election, in a real vote, there's polling officers, there's returning officers, there's people, there's poll monitors. So how do we know that these votes that are given on your website are real?
Well, there's two things. I mean, I can speak to one of them, which is the code. The code is open source. Everyone can see exactly how everything works, the whole mechanism. So that means that the site will run this code, and anyone can go and look at the code and say, hey, that's a little fishy there. If there's any problem with it, it's totally open. Then, Dane, I guess you could talk to the kind of the technical details with the implementation in council.
Yeah, our ultimate plan for this, we'd love to see it supported by council or by an independent ombudsman to have it independently audited and run separate from our society, separate from the city's control as well, to have it something that's independent, open, transparent, and readily available.
So you're looking for someone, you're going to be approaching the city and saying, please take this over and make sure, so that everyone knows it's running independently.
That would be make us, and that's exactly what we'd want. We want to create a transparent and accountable government, and in the process of doing that, it would go totally against why we do this entire thing to make it less transparent or accountable. Yeah.
And I think it's one of the things I didn't see addressed on your website. I wasn't sure, and people were asking me, well, how are these guys going to be transparent themselves? And I didn't have an answer to that one. Okay. Just a few more. Someone from IserveU, I saw, corrected a journalist on your Twitter account saying councillors signed up with IserveU aren't IserveU councillors, but merely using your tool. But your literature is rife with references to our candidates. So I'm a little bit unclear about how the relationship works.
And it's an issue with semantics. For us, one of the biggest things on the website is we do want to be able to easily, quickly draw a line between candidates that are using IserveU, and we have referred to those as IserveU candidates. As far as the candidates go, the candidates each have their own platform. They have their own specific pet peeves and their issues and their passions that they want to bring. They have their own ways that they strongly want to vote. The only thing that really unites them is that they've decided to use IserveU as a way to represent the public interest and to make sure that they can listen to the broadest possible spectrum of Yellowknifers, not just that 100 that you might run into at work, your friends, people on the street. They want to listen to everyone.
Nominations close on Monday. You seem committed to getting 5 candidates, so you can at least try and get a majority on council. How close to you are you guys to achieving that goal?
I guess we'll have to wait till Monday for that one.
Okay. So far we're doing okay. Your website states the city is an ideal theater for this experiment. Why is that?
I think Yellowknife has always been a pioneering place. It's been it's a challenging environment. People have always been adapting. We've been a very independent group, traditionally cut off from the south, not so much now, but it seems fitting that we'd be adding to our list of innovations as the most responsive government in Canada.
Okay. NWT
I guess just to add to that too, I think one of the nuances of Yellowknife, and as well as a number of the other communities up here, is that there's a lot of shift work at mines, and a lot of people that might be visiting neighboring communities for traditional activities or to visit family or this kind of thing. And the difference with this is that traditionally, in order to attend a council meeting, you have to physically be there, or hope to track down a busy councillor during their day. And all the councillors here have full-time jobs. Council is a separate side job. This means that wherever you are, if you have internet access, which 90% or 92% of Yellowknife homes do, or if you have a phone with like a smartphone, then you have direct access to your government at any time.
Okay. You're speaking of other communities. Is there, if you're successful in bringing your program to City Council, is there an idea, a goal to see if it'll work in other communities in the Northwest Territories?
Yeah, we've actually been contacted by several people and communities who are particularly interested in using this. I think that they find it's quite attractive to implement some sort of a group or consensus decision making in their own community, so they see it fitting in quite well. And we've actually had a lot of interest from down south. There's a lot of people that we've talked to who are like, wow, this is incredible, this is happening in Yellowknife, like I wouldn't have expected that. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, we're innovators here, we're proud to be producing this thing. So this could be a great export for Yellowknife, and an idea which catches on Canada-wide or worldwide.
You mentioned on the website that this is unique, that it would be unique if there was e-democracy at City Council, but you do say that there have been other candidates elected in other communities elsewhere?
Yeah, that's right. There's a few Scandinavian countries that very early on adopted elements of electronic democracy. I believe there's been a few people elected on school boards and one person on a city council in Holland, but everything is in other languages, so it's a little hard to get the exact details.
It's also really interesting to note too, like with some other areas up in the north that have accessibility issues. The Sigitchik is a good example. The Sigitchik Witchin Council, they did their last election, not as a e-democracy, but they allowed a pilot project of electronic voting. And I believe around 32% of their votes were registered electronically.
Okay.
It's a fast, easy way.
I do have I guess a legal question. I mean, the NWT elections law forbids MLA candidates from signing documents that would order them to take a particular course of action after the election. Have you been looking at the sort of legal implications of what you guys are doing?
We're not going territorially or federally. We're focusing solely right now on municipal governments in Yellowknife. Yeah. And as far as agreements, they're more in the sense of like an agreement of good faith. These guys don't even need agreements. It's more just a document understanding, and so the public can understand what they're agreeing to do. These candidates that we have signed up using IserveU as a tool already, they genuinely want to engage with the most possible Yellowknifers that they can.
But have you looked at the City, Towns and Villages Act to see whether there might be any problem?
There's not so much of a problem with councillors. It would definitely be something that would have to be addressed if we were looking at territorial, which we aren't. But so we're sticking with municipal governments right now.
Okay, great. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, obviously check out the councillors that are using IserveU. They want to represent you and they're prioritising you above their own agenda. Check them out on the website and see who would be a good person to vote for if you're interested in that.
And check out the website at IserveU.ca.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.